Yeah, so on my mother's side, it was my grandfather, my great grandfather, and my great uncle are the three original founders and investors of ESPN. Everybody told them it would fail, and they said, well, heck, let's try it. So I would say, in many ways, dental is behind from a technology perspective. Well, now with agents, we have a whole new thing. What about a prompt injection? What if somebody sits there on the phone and gets the LLM or the computer that's talking to you to go and do something it shouldn't, such as reveal PHI information or something that's not HIPAA compliant?
Some other industries have already made some technological leaps within the industries. What are some things that you think we can learn in dental from other industries?
Let me just lean in on the big one, which is
Welcome back to the Dental Economist Show with me, your host, Mike Huffaker. Before we dive into today's episode, just a friendly reminder, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to like, subscribe, or leave a review wherever you consume your podcasts. Your support helps us continue to bring valuable insights to dental professionals everywhere. Today, I'm very excited to welcome one of Planet DDS's own, Nathan James, Senior Vice President and Global Head of Product Design at Planet DDS. Nathan joined our company about 6 months ago, has a wealth of experience in technology and building products, and we are thrilled to have him here today to talk about the vision of the future and what AI is going to look like, what it means for dentistry, and just to give everyone some insights into what it takes to build great products. So, Nathan, welcome to the show. Really excited to have you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's maybe start at well, not the beginning, but how the heck does one get in to product management? What was your journey to end up in the place where you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So they jokingly say that product management is the accidental profession. That may not be true for everybody. It's probably not probably definitely true for me. So I'm a bit of a computer nerd. I taught myself to code at the age of 12. Was recruited out of high school, Department of Defense, Homeland Security, building secure internet portals to track suspicious people in the United States. It was a ton of fun. Then I decided I was going to be a little bit more altruistic. And so I went into church ministry. And so I did a stint in music, leading music at large mega churches across the United States, helping with some of the student ministry stuff, that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, I continued to develop my chops on the engineering side of things and got into a little bit more of the design world. And so churches don't pay a lot, even the large ones. And so I made most of my money from freelancing. And so that was building websites. And then at that time, mobile apps started to really become a thing in the early 2000s. And so started to build out mobile apps, et cetera, for all sorts of organizations. And then ended up spinning that out and kind of flipping it. Instead of working at a church and freelancing on the side, I started working full time in building technology, marketing, design products, and then just volunteering in churches, which I still do today across a myriad of churches here in the Atlanta area. And so that was kind of my foray into more of the professional world, and I jumped right in as a professional graphic designer, doing, like I said, websites, product things in Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, internationally for a large consumer goods company. Turned that into building a technology startup where we did marketing tech. Ran that for a few years, and then it was going okay, but it was not going to be the breakout success I'd hoped for. We scaled it to a few $1 million, ended up selling that, and I got picked up in GovTech, and that was kind of when I stepped into product management. And so from then, since then, I've been in Martech, GovTech, Fintech, and now MedTech. Very excited to be here, truly learning kind of the full end-to-end stack of how all of this stuff works.
Well, it's quite the journey. Thank you for sharing that with us. I would also say that sales is one of those accidental professions as well. So maybe sales and product management can be aligned in that way. Now, I'm curious, are you a musician yourself?
I am. I am. Yeah,
What do
I've
you play?
with triple platinum recording artists. I've toured. I play all of like the standard rock band stuff. So electric guitar, acoustic guitar, drums, keyboard, vocals, etc. So I don't play actively on stage these days. I'm more of the back end guy, production. So on Day you'll find me down in a basement someplace with the multi viewers up on the screen doing the video calls. So hey, go into camera one now. Let's switch over to camera two, camera three. A little bit more vocals on that streaming. So that's what I do these days for fun.
So more to the production side, not on the performance side,
Yep,
if you will. So
takes less practice.
yeah, yeah, very cool. And now look, yeah, you have another really kind of interesting family lore story that you had shared with us when we were at dinner for a board meeting a few months back. Tell us a little bit about the ESPN connection and maybe how some of that witnessing of entrepreneurship framed and shaped how you think about things today.
For sure. Yeah. So on my mother's side, it was my grandfather, my great grandfather, and my great uncle are the three original founders and investors of ESPN. It was my great uncle that came up with the idea and told the other two in their backyard on a kid's swing set. And they all had to figure out how to come up with a few grand. They came together and they bought a spot on a satellite. I think it was 1978 and ended up sending that up into outer space, which gave them everything they needed in order to start doing broadcast radio for sports. Everybody told them it would fail, and they said, "Well, heck, let's try it." And so my great uncle ended up becoming his name is Bobby Rasmussen. He ended up becoming the CEO and everything for a while. My grandfather ended up being the sales guy. So he would travel the country and get all the subscriptions for radio. And then as it moved into TV, he did that for a while. In the early 80s, they sold it and my family exited. Then we sold it to Getty's Oil. Getty's Oil then turned around, of course, and sold it to Disney, who owns it today. So definitely a fun lore story. To answer your question on entrepreneurship, anytime I ask myself the question, am I thinking big enough? The answer is no. Don't exit in the 80s, right? Wait and hold out for the Disney acquisition. So yeah, I think it's definitely lit my personal ethos on like how can we go bigger, better, and faster.
Yeah, yeah. Now, look, you've been in dental for about 6 months. You've come from all of these different technology fields. What are some of your early observations about the space from a technology perspective? Anything that has surprised you thus far? Anything that makes you particularly excited? And anything that you're like, man, this really wasn't what I was expecting. Like, maybe I wish it wasn't quite the way that it is.
Yeah, for sure. I think in many ways, the dental technology industry is very far behind, right? I mean, people are still using server-based systems. You look at something like Salesforce, and they disrupted this thing 20 years ago, across kind of enterprise software. But yet, here in the dental world, we're just getting to this disruption point where large enterprises are really figuring out that you got to be on the cloud from an extendability and integratability perspective versus paying massive IT teams at your local office to keep up a server in the closet, right? And so I would say in many ways, dental is behind from a technology perspective. But then I turn around and I look at the adoption and the interest in the dental market for things like AI agents, AI voice scribes, et cetera. And I would say that we're not behind from a mentality perspective. So there's this weird dichotomy that I've seen both when I was researching this industry before joining Planet DDS and then coming on board. There's this dichotomy between where the technology is and where I think not only the incumbents, the existing practitioners are, but also all these younger folks that we're bringing in, right? Where they want it to be, they want to explore, they want to try, et cetera. And I think that right there in the middle of that dichotomy is what's holding the industry back. When you don't have the infrastructure to try the new things, you have a problem. And so that's why I'm excited about Planet DDS and what it's built over the last 20 years and really just the rocket ship growth trajectory it's on in really kind of closing that gap and providing more modern infrastructure to enable a lot of these really cool, more modern technologies.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point about there being kind of a strong mentality for adopting new technology and for change inside the dental space. There's been a huge advent of new AI companies almost flooding the marketplace. I talk to groups a lot, and there's maybe some reticence or confusion in the space and understanding which direction to go. How do you know if somebody's real or not? What is a feature versus a company? When does it become a product or a solution? what are some of the things I should be concerned about in trying to implement some new shiny objects into our organization? How do you think about those questions? And when you're viewing the strategy for product for Planet DDS, um, maybe share a little bit about how your thoughts would also translate to how a DSO or a group should think about how they should approach new technologies in the market.
Yeah. So I think there's kind of two different phases. There's the discovery and exploration phase, and then there's the adoption and scale phase. And for the discovery and exploration phase, you should try everything as quickly as it comes out. You should encourage your teams to do that. We're modeling that ourselves across Planet DDS, but especially in the product organization where we've said, hey, here's a budget for AI tools. You can use Claude, you can use Copilot, you can use ChatGPT, you can use Perplexity, you can use anything that you want that will get you moving in the right direction. But at the end of the day, we're not to the place of codifying and scaling a solution. Right now, we just want people to explore, understand what's possible, etc. It's very similar to the early days of the internet, right? You don't know what you could do with it unless you have some creative people who are out there playing with it. So, in the answer of, how should we approach it in that early phase? Explore anything, explore everything. This idea that you should take something that you're exploring, sign a 3-year contract, and hope that it's going to be the thing that takes you to scale is a little bit, we'll call it naive. Okay. Just because it's a cool thing that you can dabble with and play with does not mean that it's the right solution to integrate into your tech stack and scale to drive the type of results that you want long term, just frankly. And so I think that that's kind of how I would encourage people to approach it. As you're building a roadmap, it's not about finding the one vendor and going all in just yet. It's about exploring, figuring out what those early wins are. And then as you are able to solidify which one's working best across your enterprise, make sure that it has all of the interconnectivity into your PMS systems and your core tech stack. Then you can start talking about slow iterative scaling, rollouts, etc. If you do that part too fast, you get locked into a technology that can't keep up.
Yeah. I love the message of, hey, go try these things, learn what they're all about, and get a better understanding of what AI even means. On that topic, maybe you can provide some education for the audience. And I think that AI is becoming, it is a buzzword in many ways, but it also does mean something. There's various levels of kind of education and understanding of it across the industry, across the country at this point. Um, we in the dental space had radiographic AI for quite some time, which is really machine learning. It's not necessarily an LLM type model or an agent. And that was one of the earliest things that had arrived at scale inside dentistry. And we have ChatGPT comes out. That's an LLM. And what a lot of AI that people are talking about today actually does run on LLMs, which is, I think, hard for people to connect the dots when you're thinking about how you're querying a chat GPT instance or how you're collaborating with it or how you're trying to get assistance with it. But if you start demoing some tools, you start to see that it actually is like the underlying engine for a lot of what people are doing in AI today with voice and otherwise. And then there's the whole notion of agents. And so maybe take a few moments and explain from your perspective, what is powering AI? What does it really mean? What are the different types that people should be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. So when you think of an LLM, this was really the breakthrough with OpenAI and ChatGPT, where suddenly we went from, nerds talking about AI to all of a sudden everybody's talking about AI, trying to figure out how to get it to write a bedtime story for your kid, and it was kind of mind blowing. What changed was there were some researchers who figured out how to process mass amounts of information in a really seamless and efficient way. And so we've been dabbling with these models for many years, but suddenly this created an unlock. And that tied with significantly upgraded processing power creates well-trained, intelligent models that can operate almost like human interaction, right? It can predict what needs to be said based on this vast array of data, and then it feeds it back to you in a way that feels intelligent. In order to continue to train more data and make it smarter, Of course, you have to have these massive computer systems and networks, and that's where we're seeing, lots and lots of investment going into the infrastructure to train these models. But at its very base, it's just a more efficient way to decipher that information and to feed it into a back and forth reactionary system. I ask it a question, it responds with what it thinks based on the data that's in there. Okay. That's very different than an LLM. We call that Gen AI. It generates something. It generates a response in text. It generates an image. It generates a video. That's generative AI. Agentic AI sits on top of that, of course, because there's that pseudo intelligence. But agentic AI takes a task and a goal, and it goes and accomplishes it. And that's really where the big difference is. Not everybody's calling it agentic AI. I think even ChatGPT just calls it tools or something along those lines. In the aspect of you are tasks. That's what it is. You give it a task, you give it a series of tools, and then you tell it to go off and do it. And so those tools are not like hammers and screwdrivers. Instead, those tools are access to data or systems via APIs generally. So I can tell you a little bit about what we're building here at Planet DDS. We have a whole slew of agents that we're building, starting with scheduling agents. And these scheduling agents, of course, they're sitting on top of LLMs, these large language models, from an intelligence perspective. But you are able to go in and tell it, hey, I want you to fill up my schedule for the next 2 weeks. And I want you to make sure that hygiene appointments are only on Mondays, and let's go ahead and cluster all crowns on Thursday afternoons. And by the way, this specific provider never shows up until 9 o'clock. Okay. You can literally type that in a prompt. And then this agent takes that information. It looks at your entire database of individuals and it creates a ranked list of people it should reach out to see if they would like an appointment. And it reaches out via voice, text message, and email. But that prioritization is really where the magic happens. It's doing some of the large language model, so even some of the data science, big data processing, where it say, how likely is this person to show up? How likely are they to be a happy patient? How likely are they to pay their bill? When was their last cleaning? And when does their insurance allow for an additional cleaning? Who has outstanding balances? Who has started their treatment plan but not finished it? It takes all of that and then it quantifies it in a stack ranked list. And then it just works down that list via voice, text, and email and reaches out and says, hey, I have an opening. It fits inside of what these requirements or instructions were as far as how to fill the schedule. Would you be interested? Somebody responds yes, and then it just uses an API to schedule it. And so to the human, it's really interesting. I tell it what I want, I push a button, and it's done. Behind the scenes, it really just sits on top of a whole slew of technologies that are really have been built over the last several decades that are really just stacking on top of each other to now get to the point where it creates a really novel solution.
So maybe what is most interesting about it then is if you're thinking of the LLM or thinking about ChatGPT or commercially available Gemini or Grok or you name it, Copilot, those are largely sitting on massive swaths of data. And so it's predictive, but it's based off, you ask it some question and that's where you get the hallucinations. It could be incorrect. There's so much data that is processing under. And what you're explaining is in the context of a dental practice, it is a purpose-built tool to solve a very specific problem with insight into a very specific subset of data. So it doesn't get confused by outside things. It's not going to the World Wide Web to see that provider that doesn't show up until 9 o'clock. It is only leveraging the information that exists within the subset of data that it resides on. And that's where a lot of the magic starts to happen, right? It becomes such purpose built versus just these kind of general things that so many people associate LLMs with.
Yes, for sure. And I think that's where like you said, the magic starts to happen. It of course still has access into the larger LLMs, so that way it can have a natural conversation when it's talking to a patient. But there's data partitioning, so that way it can also train itself on your database, your patient lists, etc. But we're taking that a step further, and this is incredibly important from a security perspective. So back in the day when I first got into technology, I was on the security side of things, and everybody was worried about this thing called a SQL injection, right? It's where you could put something nefarious into a form,
Sounds nefarious. I don't know. It's very scary sounding.
somebody's database with a SQL injection, right? Well, now with agents, we have a whole new thing. What about a prompt injection? What if somebody sits there on the phone and answers it in such a specific way that gets the LLM or the computer that's talking to you to go and do something it shouldn't, such as reveal PHI information or something that's not HIPAA compliant? And so, not only is there data partitioning around your database, there's also data partitioning in any communication out to customers. So, for instance, when a voice agent reaches out to you to see if you'd like an appointment, it can validate that you are who you say you are before we inject it with the additional data about that patient. So, until you confirm, and you can set up that configurably, do you need date of birth? Do you need first name, last name? Do you need XYZ? Until they confirm it, that system doesn't actually have access to the proprietary data. And it's things like that that allow it to not only be smart, but also if we handle it correctly, we can make sure we're protecting your systems.
Yeah, it's a great call out. I remember kind of early on in these AI days a few years back, I forget which airline it was, but they had some type of chat bot that sat in between, their systems and the customers, and a customer was able to effectively get it to convince it to give it everything for free. And it was like, oh, free flights, and like, oh, well, we'll give you discounts off. I'm so sorry. I apologize for all the problems that you've had. Here, take this flight for free and this flight. And they're of course like, no, we're not going to honor that. I went to a lawsuit. I never heard what the outcome of it was, but it's so important, especially in medical and healthcare, to have that level of security. How do people know when they are working with a company that's an AI company, that company takes that level of security seriously?
It's a really good point. I would say it's very similar to when you do your due diligence to acquire a new practice or to invest in a company. You don't just do it because what they're talking about is cool, but you go and you look at their management team, you look at their finances, you look at their burn rates, things like that. And if they are operating as a good business and have a track record of good business decisions, then they're pretty safe. If you can't get that because the technology is too new, this new startup has something novel that nobody else has, then they need to have been vetted from a technology perspective by another vendor or yourself from a really in-depth technology perspective. I'll give you an example. I was at Dykema back in August, and my goodness, there were AI, little startups everywhere. I've talked to, I think, every single one of them since then. A lot of them are integrating or wanting to integrate into our Dental OS ecosystem. Some of them have fantastic backing, and even though they're not profitable, they have a 10-year, burn rate or a 10-year life expectancy on the cash that they have today. They're in a good place. There are others that are literally still operating out of their mother's garage and doing it all themselves and just pretending like it's AI. And at the end of the day, it's fun to play with either of those. But again, that's that experimentation versus like implementation and scaling. Don't implement and scale something that doesn't have that kind of financial backing, where by the time you roll it out, it could fail or it could be proven to not truly be AI. There really is somebody back there making all those calls to insurance.
Right.
Right. So you're going to have to figure out how to vet them. And you either got to do that yourself or you do it by working with somebody like us who's doing that vetting on your behalf.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about where to focus your time here at Planet DDS and on the Denticon product, on Cloud9, on Apteryx, what's kind of like your North Star goals and objectives that you're looking to achieve?
I believe heavily in customer centricity. So, if the customer, keeping the customer at the center of everything. If the customer needs it, if the customer is feeling pain in a specific area, then we can ideally build something that relieves that pain, and it's a win-win. Okay. If we're building cool things that don't solve a pain problem, it'll never be adopted. And so the way that I do it and the way that we are doing it as an organization now is really going out to our customers, spending tons of time with them, talking to them, implementing AI tools that take every sales conversation, every implementation conversation, every product management integration conversation or research conversation. It's aggregating it together and it's giving us feedback on the largest pain points that our DSOs and individual practices care about or are feeling. So that way we can craft solutions for that. And I'll tell you right now, like the one that just keeps coming back up because we are hyper focused on serving the enterprise is revenue squeeze, right? EBITDA squeeze. It's costing us more to run our businesses, and we're not making as much, right? And so For us, back to your question of what are we focused on? We're focused on solving pain. Right now, we're focused on solving the pain on those two sides by helping, hopefully, increase EBITDA margins for DSS. We do that by providing solutions like the scheduling that decrease headcount cost and drive efficiencies with things like Planet DDS Pay to decrease the amount of time and increase the amount of revenue you guys can bring in.
Where do you think the maximum benefit is going to be received on the RCM side of the business? You've built out a really clear vision for us on a go forward basis. And we know we can't snap our fingers and do it all tomorrow. Though, one thing that you preach pretty consistently, and I guess preaching is a valid term to use given your association with the church, is speed of innovation and speed of release. And the fact that we can't just operate how we did before. We need to make sure that we are accelerating our releases, moving faster, being even more agile and nimble, and leveraging all this new technology. But I digress. Going back to the question, when you look at RCM, when you decide how to prioritize, where's the maximum benefit that can be received in the shortest time frame, and how do you determine how you go ahead and pursue that overall vision and when you do what and how?
RCM goes right to the core of what I mentioned a second ago about we care about what the DSOs care about, right? And how bottom line, RCM is very expensive. It's wild. We've done some surveys and we've discovered that the least efficient DSO we've talked to has one headcount for every $1 million processed. That's pretty inefficient or expensive revenue to bring in, right? The most efficient is like one headcount, one RCM FTE to every $12 million processed, which is still pretty expensive. It's there's a big range there, but that's pretty expensive. And so, to your question of how do we prioritize, the answer is number one, think big. We have some really big, exciting things for RCM that we believe are going to revolutionize the industry. There are other industries that have already done some technology leaps in the last 10 to 20 years that medical just hasn't. And if we can take those leaps, we can drastically simplify the process of RCM, allow you to collect more and spend less man hours doing it. So that's big picture what we're driving at. As far as how we prioritize it, it's all going to be prioritized based on the impact that it has. So if we do feature A versus feature B is going to come down to which one saves the clinicians or the RCM team more time.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked about customer feedback. Can you chat a little bit about the customer advisory boards, why they're important, and how they're structured?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I came in, really started preaching customer centricity. If we don't understand what you guys as customers need, or what our DSO and our clinicians need, then we are off in left field doing something for our good, not for their good, which is how a company dies. Okay. And so what we decided to do was to build a series of systems. One is that AI, I call it the feedback collator. It takes all of our conversations, it brings it in, narrates it, and tells us like what's actually going on with all of these customers that we're talking to. Another is a feedback portal. We've launched a feedback portal where people can ask for feature requests and vote on it, et cetera. The third kind of pillar of this customer centricity strategy is customer advisory boards, like you said. And so we've launched 7 customer advisory boards. 5 of them are around key strategic priorities. 2 of them are more at the platform level. We've gone out to advocates in our customer base who love to give us feedback and to try new things early, who are willing to be those early adopters. And we call them Mavens, right? The people who are going to try it early, give us feedback, and then go tell all their friends. Okay. And so we've asked between 3 and 5 Mavens from the industry to come to each of those customer advisory boards. Now, every quarter they meet and we show them what we're thinking about building next and what we just built. We get their feedback on all of that. And then on a monthly basis, we're having conversations with iterative progress about, hey, we've decided to go this way or this way. What do you think about this? Are these the right metrics to track? Is this the right success criteria? If we built this over this, we talked a second ago, feature A versus feature B. If we do feature A, is it really going to deliver the value that we think it will? And we allow them to educate us on their business. Because at the end of the day, our customers know their business better than we do.
So one of the things I appreciate about working with you is that you definitely have a mindset for growth within the organization, not only within the product side, but in the sales side, on the marketing side. And you don't shy away from engagements with customers, either future customers or current customers. Talk a little bit about your philosophy to working with sales in an organization as a product leader.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I'm going to extend this beyond just the product leader. I believe the product management team is a bit of the connective tissue across the organization. And as part of that, they've got to be involved in every aspect of an organization. And sales is so incredibly critical. Not only do product managers have the knowledge that oftentimes the sales team needs at the right points of time in conversations, but they also need to learn from those conversations, right? When we're having tough conversations, either during a sales call or even like an account management call, instead of that being translated via telephone, taking a product manager and encouraging them to be a part of those conversations in real time can be so valuable. So much so, I just had my entire product management team read a sales book called The Sales Qualified Leader, so that way they can understand what a pipeline is, how to qualify leads, what's the difference between a champion, etc. And so, yes, for me, myself, I believe that is a core responsibility to support the sales organization, but I believe that goes broader to most products people.
Yeah, yeah. Now we have our Orbit event coming up. It's our leadership and user conference. It will be happening in Scottsdale at the end of February, which if you live in any part of the country other than Arizona at the end of February, Scottsdale is a great place to be. Maybe with the exception of Southern California and maybe Florida, but the it is a premier destination. During that conference, Nathan, you and your team will be going over a lot of new releases. Anything you want to tease? I know you don't want to give everything away, but why should somebody come to Orbit? Not even just a current Planet DDS customer, but somebody that's also interested in the future of technology within dental.
There are three things that I can talk to and kind of tease out. Number one is bringing together this ecosystem of connected applications so that way we vet their viability, and then you have a better chance of choosing the right one. There's a lot of investment going into our dental OS with AI, and really excited to unveil not only how all that's coming together to give you a single pane of glass for your technology stack, but also some of the really cool AI that's being layered inside of that. And I won't, spill the beans on everything, but the agents that I talked about a second ago is only one piece of that holistic AI strategy and everything that's coming out at Orbit. The other big one that I want to talk about is RCM. RCM is a massive focus for us. I said it at the very beginning that I learned from my grandfather that you can't think too big and you don't want to run away too quick, right? And that's true with RCM. I believe that there is an opportunity for us to drive the most value for a DSO and individual practice as well, but definitely for a DSO from that margin expansion perspective by tackling their biggest challenge around revenue. How do I collect more of my revenue and do it at a better cost ratio? Right. So some big things that we're unveiling there as far as not only what we've already developed and will be available as of Orbit, but also a little bit more of the vision of what's coming next and how it's going to all come together to really drive efficiency that goes far and above the best DSOs that we've seen today. I said earlier, 1 FTE RCM headcount to every $12 million is the most efficient we found. What if we could get 1 to 15 or 1 to 20? That's what we're working on. Super excited to unveil it and walk through the details at Orbit.
You mentioned a little bit earlier, um, some other industries have already made some technological leaps within the industries. I think you have a unique perspective on product within dental because you've come from outside industries. Many people kind of grown up in dental, which is not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but there's also benefit in having some more line of sight into other spaces. What are some things that you think we can learn in dental from other industries?
Yeah, let me just lean in on the big one, which is RCM. I think RCM can learn a lot from the payments industry. Okay. Let me just give a comparison. Imagine that you're back 20 years ago and you still took a credit card, you put it on a triplicate and you scanned it and then you had to
Knuckle
take it.
busters.
Knuckle busters. That's how we live in the dental and the medical world still. We are pushing the complexity of our insurance systems onto the DSOs and the practices themselves versus abstracting it. Here might be a better example. Imagine that you went to Walmart You pulled out your debit card and you tapped it. And the Walmart thing said, we have estimated that you have X number of dollars in your bank account. We will cover Y, and we'll balance bill you the rest. Okay. That's exactly what we do in dental. Instead of when you tap that debit card, it says approved, decline. Would you like to accept this transaction? Why can't we do the same thing that we figured out in the payments world 20 years ago in the dental world? When you pull back the covers and you look at all the players and all the networks, it literally is a mirror image of our insurance systems across the United States and our payment systems across the United States. The difference is that one has innovated a lot faster. So the question that we're asking ourselves is, why not? Why can't we go follow the mold of something that's already been built and figure out how to drive efficiency at a whole nother level that really gets us out of this world of estimates and gets us into the world of real-time claims, real-time predeterminations, real-time payments?
Yep. Last question for you. I talk to all my guests about culture. It's one of my favorite topics. What have your observations been on the culture at Planet DDS in the time that you've been here?
Man, I have not been on a call with anybody from Planet DDS who doesn't have a smile on their face. It's fun. I think early on, I took a bit of time to decide that I wanted to go ahead and make the leap. I was in a very successful additional role in another private equity-backed organization, and taking the leap was a big leap of faith. And I listened to Mike, one of your podcasts, actually with Eric, our CEO, and he said, "I believe in making it fun, and if it's fun, then people do their best work." And that resonated with me. And I think from a culture perspective, that's what Planet DDS is. It's fun. Now, it's fun on the bad days, which is amazing, but it's even funner on the good days, which there seem to be more of. I had a mentor tell me a long time ago, Nathan, it's fun to win. When you're winning, everybody else is able to kind of stack on top of that, go further and faster. And frankly, that's the truth of where we're at with Planet DDS. I love the fact that we have a space theme. Everything's about a rocket ship. Like Planet DDS, from all financial metrics, is a rocket ship right now. I'm honored to be a part of it, to figure out how we continue to go further and faster, continue to build this culture in the organization.
Well said, Nathan. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
Good
Mike,
time.
thanks for
I'll
having
see you on a call soon.
Yeah. See you soon.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Okay. The Dental Economist Show is brought to you by Planet DDS. To find out more about how cloud-based dental software by Planet DDS helps unleash dentists and their staff to focus on patient care, visit www.planetdds.com. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes by following wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.